Okay, there's three states of awareness that live in you. Okay, so we're talking about the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. Okay, good morning, guys. Good morning, Jay. Good morning. Good morning, lady. Good morning. Oh, thank you for the rose. Thank you. Costas, good morning. So, the superconscious, right, is one of those three states. Okay, so the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. These are states of awareness. Okay, so the conscious mind makes conscious decisions. Okay, so it will give you the subject matter. Okay, now the subconscious, okay, is like your autopilot. Now, if we look at the three, like say we're talking about a computer, so the conscious mind is your operating system, just to make it, a little easier, okay? So the conscious mind is your operating system. The subconscious is your hard drive, where the programs are stored, okay? Now the superconscious is the network that we're all plugged into, okay? So the superconscious is your source of intuition and creativity because it gives you intuitive thought, okay? And we're talking also about the receptivity aspect of the right hemisphere of the brain. Okay, that's where the superconscious is active. Okay, it's a right-brained kind of receptivity. Okay, now connection to universal mind, collective unconsciousness. Okay, so we can say the consciousness. Okay, so it's a direct link to consciousness. Now, when people say that, you know, infinite intelligence, you're born with infinite intelligence, right? When they discuss infinite intelligence, what they're really talking about is your ability to access the superconscious. Carl Jung, his concept, okay, of a collective unconscious shares some similarities, and he talks about some archetypes and some and shared human experiences that can be absorbed from the superconscious, okay? Or let's say it another way, intuitive thought that comes from the superconscious that can help you in direction. Okay, so let me give you an example of superconscious. Okay, intuitive thought. You're driving down the highway and you get that feeling. It's a feeling, it's not a voice. Okay, if you're hearing voices, that's different. Okay, but you get that feeling that you should turn right, but you dismiss it because you have free will and you keep going and you get stuck in a traffic jam. And what do you say? You say, I knew I should have turned right. Okay, because you did know. Okay, that was intuitive thought. That was intuitive guidance or divine guidance. You can say it that way. Okay, so that's the superconscious at work. Okay, now the conscious mind made the decision to override the superconscious in that instance. Okay, the conscious mind makes the decision. Okay, so although you get that feeling, that intuitive thought from your right brain, okay, your conscious mind goes, no, just keep going. And you keep going and you dismiss it, okay, because you have freedom of choice, right? You can choose, so you choose not to obey that intuitive thought, and then something happens, right? So that happens a lot. So I'm here to tell you that if you trust that intuition, if you trust that intuitive thought, you will be better off in your life. Okay. So what else? What else is it responsible for? It's responsible for spiritual awakening and higher states. Okay. So like in meditation, when you go into meditation and you experience the expansiveness, okay, that exists in meditation, you're experiencing the superconscious. Okay, it's beyond ego and personal identity. Okay, so the superconscious is sometimes described as transcending the ego or rising above the ego, okay, and personal identity. So you're not really identifying with self at that point. You're identifying with the universe. You're identifying with all that is. And that's pretty expansive, okay? So what else? Well, innate wisdom and healing comes from the superconscious. Okay, now your subconscious also can heal. Superconscious is like, when you have the placebo effect, right? You have that placebo effect. Okay, so somebody gives you a pill and they say, okay, this pill is the medicine for your illness, and then you get well. How do you describe that? What happened? There was no medicine. It was a sugar pill, but you got well. Okay, So this is what we call mind over matter. This is what we call the superconscious. Okay, so in different traditions, in yoga, Eastern philosophy, you know, transpersonal psychology, okay, this field explores, you know, spiritual and transcendent aspects of the human existence. Okay, so again, superconscious. Okay, but they discuss it and they address it in transpersonal psychology, also in mysticism. Okay, superconscious. So the superconscious is a category where you can put God in there. Okay, God, Jesus Christ, you know, infinite intelligence, all of these things you can classify under the superconscious. Okay, and contemplation, you can access it through prayer. Okay, when you pray, when you get in deep prayer, okay, and deep meditation, you access the superconscious because that's where God is. Okay, so God, that's why they say Jesus, right, sits at the right hand of the Father. It's talking about the right hemisphere of the brain, esoterically. Okay, I know a lot of church people aren't taught that because they don't teach that in Sunday school. Okay, they don't teach that in the church, but that's what it represents. Okay, so creative pursuits, that's another thing. You get creativity from the superconscious. People that get ideas, inventors, some of the great inventors of our time relied on the superconscious for their designs, for their you know, inventions, whatever they were inventing, their ideas all came from the superconscious. Okay, there's tons of records of these people that, you know, pray for this divine inspiration, okay, and they wait for it, okay, and then they receive it. So ask, believe, receive in the superconscious, okay, or in meditation, or in prayer, these things, right? And they get these ideas. And all of a sudden, they get an idea for a book, they get an idea for an invention, they get an idea for whatever they're engineering, stuff like that, okay? Because according to, you know, if we want to look at the spiritual side of it, according to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which was written 5,000 years ago, creation is complete, okay? So creation is complete. Thank you, lady. Thank you so much. So all creation is already complete. What we're experiencing is just another generation, okay, or a regenerative, let's say, a regenerative form of things. So they just get regenerated. These ideas just get recreated. Okay, so they're recreations of things. Creative pursuits. Okay, that's another thing. Art, music, writing, all of these things. Superconscious. Okay, that's all through the right hemisphere of the brain. Dreams and intuition. Okay, that's another thing. So all of these things come from the superconscious. So when we say conscious, subconscious, superconscious, the superconscious is that divine inspiration, is that divine thought, is that inspired thought. Okay, and it all works, like I said, through the right hand, through the right hemisphere of the brain. Okay, now if you want an analogy, think of an iceberg. Okay, you've seen those pictures, right? With the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg is sticking out of the water, but underneath the water, underneath the surface, there's the huge part of the iceberg, right? So that's really what it is. The tip of the iceberg is just what you're aware of. It's the conscious part, but the unconscious part is huge underneath the surface. Okay, so that's what the superconscious is like. That's a visual. That's a visual for the superconscious. Okay. Now, why is this important to know? Why? How? You know? Why is it important to know this? Because what happens in manifestation, or when you're, you know, achieving your goals, when you have a goal, right? Hi, Michelle. Good morning. When you have a goal, you write down your goal. Conscious is the one that will bring you intuitive thought on how to proceed. Okay. So maybe the thought is, you know, maybe the thought more XYZ company. Your path was, oh, cocktail party. Okay. And you went to the cocktail party, and that led you to XYZ company. This is why the how is God's job. Okay. So I always say that the how is God's job, because you never know how things will happen. But this happens through the superconscious. The superconscious will bring the right people into play. Okay. It will also lay the path out for you. So the superconscious, or God, is like like a GPS. You know, when you see the GPS and it lays out a path for you, but then you know a shortcut, and then you go on the shortcut. What does the GPS do? It starts to recalibrate, right? And then it figures out a way from the way you're going. It will figure out a way based on where you're going. And then it will display that route for you. Every time you change your mind, the steps. Because you think or you feel that you could be taking the wrong steps. So you don't take steps at all. So you delay the process. Now what happens? Well, now you're not moving. Okay? And pretty soon, you know, people start asking you, well, you were going to do this. What happened? And you probably say something like, well, I couldn't figure it out. Or required. Okay, I tell people baby steps. I tell people baby steps. I used to take giant steps towards things. Okay, but I learned that lesson. Okay, let me give you an example. When I started my consulting company, my consultant firm, back in 2010, okay, I had gone to a meeting and, you know, I went to a feng shui thing, and my mom took me, and she thought it was good for me to, you know, to go. Really good at PR, you should be a consultant. And I thought about it. So we had a production company that we started back in 1988, and we had kind of left it alone for a little while because we were doing, you know, other things, and I had two other companies, and as well as a record label, and the record label was doing things periodically. So I just didn't really do the production company like we used to. And so it was kind of floating, it was kind of there, but we weren't doing too much with it. That we started in 1988 became VMAC Consultant. In 1988 became VMAC Consultants. Now, when we started VMAC Consultants, I went ahead and the original name was Voicemaster Advertising Consultants. Okay, and so when I did that, I had the logos made, I had the graphics done, you know, I had envelopes printed, stationery printed, I had the like all of these things done. Okay, so I paid the graphic artist, paid, you know, all this stuff, and I think it was a little bit over $500 that I spent on the preparation for VMAC, for Voicemaster Advertising Consultants. And then I had everything printed out. You know, my attorney came over, and I was telling him, I said, well, I'm starting a consultant firm, Voicemaster Advertising Consultants. And he said, that sounds like a community move. So on the advice of my attorney, right, I dumped all that stuff. Now I had taken a big step. I went ahead and had the design made, printed all that stuff, okay? And so all of that was a waste of money. So I wasted over $500 just right from the get-go. And I dumped everything. I dumped it all in the trash. And I said, okay, well, we'll redesign it. We'll redo the name. And I thought about it. And I was so frustrated with the whole process that I said, you know what? I'm just going to turn it into an acronym. VMAC, Voice Master Advertising Consultant. We'll just call it VMAC Consultants. So that's what I did, and that's how VMAC Consultants was born. And you can search us. You can search us up, VMAC Consultants, Honolulu, Hawaii, and we have a Facebook page that has all of our work on it. We have an Instagram page that has all of our work on it, so you can see, you know, what we've done and what we do. And so now we've also, you know, kind of redesigned the consulting company a bit. So now we include digital services. We include AI instruction. We do all these things now. So we actually redefined the mission. We redefined a lot of the services. We added services. We hired people that perform these services. So we started out as a social media advertising agency, and we did, you know, a lot of business consulting, and then we started incorporating the digital aspect of everything. And so now we help solopreneurs, we help small businesses with digital infrastructure. So setting up their website, setting up their sales systems, setting up all the digital aspects of it, their CRMs, all of this. And for solopreneurs, it's really handy because they can just do what they do, and we can take care of the other things, and it brings them business, and we advertise for them, and all of that. So anyway, but that's just a little. I'm not here to do a commercial on my consulting company, but that's just what we do for the consulting. So, and then I do my teaching, and that's on the side, and we do that as one of our other companies. But anyway, but that's an example of when you take a big step, okay? Sometimes you can lose money like that, like I did, okay? So, so I'm not, not ashamed to tell you about the failures that I've had as well. So that was a failure, okay? But you learn from failures. Failures in business are very important, okay? And it's very important personally as well that you fail a lot, because failure leads to success. It's a part of success. You cannot succeed without failures. So you have to fail. So just know that it's okay, and don't beat yourself up. Just regroup and learn the lesson and move on from there. But this is what happens when you don't do baby steps, okay? So don't be like me. Do your stuff in baby steps, okay? And from that time on, I'm like, okay, I started taking baby steps. Okay, but baby steps are enough, because as you take the steps, the doors open. Okay, God opens the door, or the universe opens the door, or source opens the door. Okay, because we're all connected. That's the first universal law. Okay, the law of divine oneness. We are all one, which means that we all share in awareness. Okay, we're all part of consciousness. So everything is included in that. So your access to infinite knowledge is through the superconscious, that state of awareness. Okay, so there's those three states: conscious, subconscious, superconscious. So that's a little bit about the superconscious. And Costas was asking me about relationships yesterday, and I offered to address it. Brother Lou, good morning. So I offered Costas to do it. It's just that some of the I have to be very careful, because my live gets shut down really fast when I start talking about things that are not PC. So you have to understand that when you start talking about relationships and how men and women are hardwired and how they interact with each other, the thing that's kind of difficult is that you only get generalizations in college. Okay, you only get generalizations in on, let's say, from certain reading material. Okay, but when you get down to the hardwiring, the biological hardwiring between men and women, they are fundamentally different, and they're fundamentally different for a reason. Okay, this has nothing to do with anything PC. Okay, an attraction is not a choice. Attraction is not a choice. Okay, when a woman is attracted to you guys, it's not a choice. She doesn't have a choice. Okay, now you can actually have a hand in that, which means you can influence her to like you if you know what to do. Okay, but just know that you're not going to be attractive to every female. Simple, right? And not every you're not going to be attracted to every female. Okay, that's just the way life is. However, when you have let's say a female who's open, you can become very attractive to her if she's open. If she's already closed to the idea that, okay, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go out with this guy, there's nothing you can do. Okay, so now here we go. Costas, women don't find love in any partner. Let the woman answer us here. Yeah, let him answer, Costas, because what I was telling you. In fact, let me go back and tell you what Costas was telling me, because Costas believes in the fairy tales. Jay, why don't you help in this, because yeah, Costas believes in the fairy tale part of women that yeah, it's a very I don't know, let's see. Okay, So I'm going to read some of the things that Costas. You don't mind, right? You don't mind if I read some of the statements that you were making, okay? Um, so let me see. So yeah, I have to be very careful. Okay, I got to be careful on the live of what I read. Um, so let's see. So I was telling Costas, right, um, that women are designed to love their children. Okay, so ladies, feel free to chime in. Okay, and the kind of love I'm talking about. So yeah, let me just go from there. I don't need to read his notes. So the kind of love. Yeah, so you're sold a fairy tale of what love is about. You see that, Costas? That's coming from a woman, and she's an experienced woman. She's not 25, okay? She's a mature adult female, okay? And uh, so yeah, you guys have been sold the Hollywood Hallmark Channel type love, okay? Basically, we're talking a little bit about relationships right now, and we're talking with Costas on another platform over here. So yeah, so you're sold this movie type, Cinderella type thing, and that doesn't exist. Women are hardwired to love their children. Okay. Now, if you're a man, just know that she doesn't love you. She doesn't love you, lady. You can comment as well if you want to. Okay, she doesn't love you in the way that she loves her children. She will never love you like she loves her children. Okay, so let's put in the proper context. Okay. Now, that being said, gentlemen, uh, you will never find a woman to love you like your mom loves you. Okay. So we're talking about that kind of love. Okay. That's the real love that you get from your mom. Okay. Ladies, you get that. You get that from, yeah, there are different kinds of love. There you go. But I'm talking about the kind of love so men, right? Men get love from their mom and they go out into the world looking for mommy. Okay, they go looking for mommy. They never find mommy because that's yeah. No, I'm not going to tell your personal experience, Costa. I'm just speaking about the way that you're talking about this. But yeah, so men go looking for their mommy because they experience that love from mom, and then they want to find it somewhere out there. It doesn't exist out there. Okay, but in the movies, okay, in the movies, right, they write about, like Hallmark Channel. You watch Hallmark Channel. Okay, so that kind of love doesn't exist. Okay, that's why it's in the movies. Okay, yeah, different types. There you go. So the kind of love that men experience, okay, that's what they look for. That's what Costas is looking for. Okay, that's what he thinks will happen. Costas thinks if you're good to a woman, if you're nice to her, eventually she will love you. Ladies, tell him. If you're nice to a woman, she will love, right? So as a life coach, I've had guys come to me, right? This one guy, he was an attorney. He made a lot of money, okay? His wife had the credit card, okay? She could go out shopping anytime she wanted, okay? She had a swimming pool. They had a two-story house. They had the BMWs, the whole American dream. And one day she comes home and she wants a divorce. Okay, so it's a different kind of love though, Costas. That's what I'm saying. It's a different kind of love. So yeah, it's different. Yeah. So okay, you guys can talk. But anyway, she comes home wanting a divorce, okay? And the guy's like, well, I give her everything. She has everything. And now she wants a divorce, okay? Well, this is because he's not paying attention to her. He's thinking that if I give her things, she will love me, okay? So there's a difference. So men have this thing, right? They think that as long as they're out there producing, as long as they're out there getting stuff, providing, right, being the provider, okay, that women will just fall in love with them, and that's not true. Okay, that's not how it works. Okay, so yeah, and I'm not gonna go into all the details because, like I said, the algorithm is going to push me out. But anyway, and if you'd like to, go further into that, you can comment with the women on the feed right there, and they will tell you. Okay, that's not what gets a woman to love you. Okay, so women are hardwired for survival. Men are hardwired for logic. So it's logical for a man to think, well, if I give her everything, she will love me. No, that's not true. Okay, but there's different kinds of love. I'm saying that the love you get from your mom, if you're a man, and you go out into the world looking for that kind of love, it does not exist, and you're not going to find it. There is no woman out there who will love you like mommy. But that's what we feel to be love. Okay, and that kind of love she will give to her children, and that's what you can be grateful to her for, because she will give that nurturing to your children, just not to you. Okay, it's a different kind of thing. She will be grateful to you. She will appreciate what you do for her. She will be, either loyal to you or not based upon some of those things, maybe not all of those things, but she will not love you in that way. Okay, you're never going to find mommy's love out there in the world. So based upon that principle, be very grateful for your moms. Okay, gentlemen. Okay, be very grateful for your moms. If you still have your mom alive, if she's still alive, absorb all that love now, because when it's gone, because it does not exist out there. Okay, now by the same token, right, a woman gets her love from mom and dad, and that love that she gets from dad, what she experiences as love from dad, she looks for out in the world as well. Okay, now some men can measure up to that. Some men, so she'll go looking for her dad in the world, and the guys will go looking for her mom. Okay, it's a different kind of love, Costas. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So Costas is 35 years old. Okay, so there's that. Um, yeah, it's compatibility. So that's very different, Costas. The kind of love that a woman has for her child does not have to do with compatibility or chemistry. Okay, it's biological. And biologically, she's hardwired for survival. So if you are being deficient in whatever area you're being deficient in, and there's no handbook, but yeah, there are things to observe and study. Then yeah, then she's not going to be a part of your world. Put it that way. Okay, very good, lady. Yeah, initial attraction, and attraction is not a choice. Okay, so Costas, you need to learn how to attract women. Okay, and like I said, you have to have a woman who is open in order to attract her, and you have to know how to test that. Okay, and when you can test that, you can tell who's open and who's not, and the ones that are not, you leave them alone, and the ones that are open, you pursue. Okay, men pursue, women choose. No such thing as a man choosing. Okay, anyway, so yeah, we're on that platform discussing a little relationships. Like I said, I can't get too heavy into it. We have a service for gentlemen that's called Modern Males Confidence. It's at modernmalesconfidence.com. It's part of Here For You Life Coaching. If you're a man, you want to learn about women, you want to learn about how to attract a woman, and not just how to attract a woman, but how to keep a woman. It's a lot of work. Okay, relationships are a lot of work. But when you put in the time, and the first time that you need to put in is acquiring the knowledge. Okay, because if you have no knowledge, usually, like we said, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I was talking about relationships a little bit. And I said, everything starts off going out. You go out, right? Nobody starts off studying about women. Okay, you usually have to go through your first or second catastrophe, and then you start learning, right? Then you start learning. Some guys never learn. Those are serial monogamists. So what they do is they keep getting married over and over and over. Okay, but if your subconscious doesn't change, guess what happens? It doesn't matter who the girl is. You keep making those same patterns show up over and over. It doesn't matter who the girl is. You keep getting divorced. Okay? But first you need to study women. You need to understand women. Okay, because they're not like us, guys. Okay? They're not men with boobies. Why would a woman choose a toxic person? Okay, he's talking about the bad boy syndrome. Tell him, girls. So, sorry, I have this thing going on over here. But anyway, but yeah, so subconscious training is very important in relationships. We're talking a little bit about relationships, and the ladies are schooling Costas on that other, on my other my other service over here, my other platform. But yeah, so subconscious training is very important. Why is that? Because you don't. First of all, you want to learn about women. Okay, you want to learn about how they're hardwired before you get in a relationship. When you're in a relationship, okay, the first 2 months of the relationship, she will make a schematic of your habits, of your subconscious. Okay, she will figure you out. Okay, and it's because she's hardwired for survival. Okay, that's why. Because she has to know she's safe. And if she has, if she's going to give birth to babies, she has to know that you're a suitable mate. Okay, it's biology. It's that simple. Okay, so that's why that happens. Okay, but there's many more things to that. But I'm saying that people just go out. They go, oh, okay, I'm gonna invite her out. Go out on first date, second date, third date. That leads to the second month. That leads to the 6th month, and pretty soon you're in a relationship. Then what? Well, you haven't learned anything about relationships yet. You haven't studied anything about women yet. So what are you really doing? It's just hit and miss. Okay, and like I told you about that one client that I had, right? He came home and she asked him for a divorce, and he was bringing home tons of money. They had the swimming pool, the BMW, the 2-story house, all of that. Okay, but he wasn't satisfying her on several key levels, and so she wanted out. You can't throw money at a woman and expect her to stay. Money doesn't do it. Money's part of it. Some women are weak enough, okay, to stay in that kind of situation. Okay, some. So this is not a generalization. But I'm saying if you want to appeal to her and have a healthy relationship, you can't throw money at her. That doesn't work. That just don't even think about that. Because some men hide their true self when they're courting women. Okay, yeah, let me address that. Same could be said about women. Yeah, yeah, that's true too, but mostly in men. So here's the thing, guys. You guys try to be nice guys, okay? You're not nice guys. You're not. Okay, Costas, you think you're a nice guy? Do you think you're a nice guy, Costas? I can tell you right now, you're not a nice guy, okay? But you pretend to be a nice guy, right? Because you pretend to be a nice guy, so she'll go out with you, okay? But then that is a facade. That's not real, okay? Because you're putting on your best face for her, is what I'm saying. Okay, therefore, you're not being honest with her, okay? So, and men feel that if they're honest, she won't like you, right? So, if you're just up and up with it, right? If you're just yourself with her, I mean, I'm talking about yourself, not your put on self. So that's a thing as well. So yeah, Costas, are you a nice guy? Watch what he says. Oh, I'm a pretty nice guy. Anyway, but we're discussing a little bit of relationships, and we're kind of you were in a professional relationship with a woman, and she left me and the job for a toxic person. Okay, so she left the. You see right there. So he was in a professional relationship with a woman, and she left him. He said she left me. Okay, she wasn't in anything with him. She was in a professional relationship. Okay, and she left the job for a toxic person. She was attracted to a bad boy. She left Costas in that professional relationship. So it wasn't even a relationship, Costas. And in your head, you took it to a personal level out of a professional thing. And now she went off with a bad boy. And yeah, so you see, there you go. Okay, I rest my case. Anyway, but subconscious. Let's talk about subconscious mind and relationships, okay? Because that's going to help you, guys. Okay, we're talking to the guys because we want to help the guys. Women understand these things more than you think, okay? A woman understands you, gentlemen, very quickly. In 2 months, she's made a schematic of your brain. She knows what makes you tick. She knows all of these things because she has to know, because she's hardwired for survival. okay, because she gives birth too young and she needs to know who you are. Okay, so she will be like a boll weevil and she'll go through your brain and figure you out in 2 months. She knows you. Okay, so that's the first thing women do. And yeah, you can find this in some books, but when you go to AI and stuff, they'll shut you down, because yeah, it gets into primal psychology. It gets into primal things. Okay, but and we're talking about, way down deep how the female and male are hardwired, very very different. Okay, so not all relationships with women are romantic. No, some are professional, Costas. There you go. See, so yeah, I can tell by what he's writing. He's yeah, he was trying to make more out of a professional relationship. He was trying to take it to the personal level. She ran off with the bad boy, and he's over here. Say he was telling me yesterday that he's gonna wait for her. Whew, good luck for that. Good luck on that one. Okay. Anyway, so with the subconscious, right? The important thing to realize is if you're having a tough time in a relationship, you need to change your beliefs in your subconscious. Okay? There's something wrong in the beliefs that you have concerning the relationship. Okay? And this is in your subconscious. Now your subconscious beliefs, your core beliefs form your paradigm. Okay? And this is the way you see the world. This is also the way you see relationships. Where I'm just going to translate all these things out for you. Okay? So your women have a sixth sense and they become aware of the man's insecurity, bad habits. Yeah, and they figured it all out in 2 months. Lady, tell him. And the reason why women have that ability is because they raise young. They raise children, okay? And they have to be safe with their children. That's why she's saying that. Anyway, so in your subconscious, you have to change some of those beliefs, because those beliefs change, number one, the way you see women, okay? And number two, the way you see relationships working. When you start to learn these things, you go, oh, I see, okay? Because if a woman is hardwired for survival, here's a good test. Try losing your job. Lose your job and see how long that woman will stay around and do all the heavy lifting. See how long that lasts. It won't last very long. So number one, men have to produce, okay? So this is like you go through an 8-hour day of work. When you get home, there's another job to do. There's another full-time job to do. Okay, but when men go home and they get the remote and they sit in front of the game and they do that, okay, that's not actively participating in your relationship. That's not how a woman looks at it. Okay, you may think that you did your job for the day, you provided for the family for the day, you want to go home, you want to kick back, you want to, okay, no, you have to maintain that relationship, and that's a job and that's a responsibility. Okay, so yeah, lady, there you go. Yeah, I usually get guys right before the divorce part. When she starts talking divorce. So guys, just know that when a woman mentions the word divorce, she's almost certain that she's made up her mind. Okay, so let's say this is the scale. Let's say this is the scale. Okay, when it gets down to here, divorce, the mention of divorce, maybe for a visual, is like here. Okay, the distance from here to here is short, but this distance can collapse in a decision like that. Okay, and this is when the guys come to me. How do I save my relationship? I've saved a lot of relationships. There was this one guy that was standing in a doorway with a loaded 45 and a bottle of Jack in his hand, and he just happened to see a post that I made about relationships on TikTok, and he reached out to me, and I worked with him. It took me 2 weeks to turn him around because he had no idea about, how to communicate with women, number one, how women were hardwired, how a relationship really works, how attraction really works, and I had to turn him around. It took 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks. And as soon as I turned him around, the girl started pursuing. But by that time, because he, got some education, he was no longer interested in the relationship. Okay, but I get guys like that when they get in the danger zone. The danger zone can just collapse with an aha moment when she realizes, all right, I'm out. I'm done. Boom, it goes like that. And when that happens, you can't resurrect that. You cannot get that back, guys. Okay. So if you're in the argumentative stage with a woman, okay, like you're fighting, 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 and then the word divorce comes out. Okay, right before the word divorce comes out, there's a period of time where you're fighting, fighting, fighting. And a lot of times she's trying to figure out how to preserve this because she likes you. Okay? She appreciates you. Okay? But at the same time, her needs are not being met. And I'm talking about emotional needs, okay? And if her emotional needs are not being met, she's an emotional being. If her emotional needs are not being met, I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how much. She's gone. Okay? So what do you need to do? You need to start addressing those things. You need to start working on those things. Okay? Because when you get to that danger zone, like this is when the guys call me, Junior, what am I going to do? Right? And there was one time I had like 3 relationships in like 2 months, and I turned them all around. Boom, boom, boom. Except this one guy. There was this other guy too, and he was a Marine. He was a Army officer, and he had a unique situation. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing or anything, but he just couldn't bring himself to do it. Okay, but this happens with married men. Married men are the hardest guys to turn around. The hardest. Because they've been conditioned. Okay, not only have they been conditioned by their wives, they've been conditioned by the institution of marriage. Okay, that's another thing. And they've taken vows. Men take vows pretty seriously. I want to say, some men, right? They take their vows seriously. But you have to understand the psychological conditioning behind taking vows in front of everybody, family, right? That kind of thing, right? That kind of stuff. And then yes, men fool around. Yes, men violate their vows. Yeah, they do all that stuff too. But I'm saying like there's a amount of conditioning that when you try to reverse this in men, it's very, very difficult. Okay? Because now they have to do the opposite. Okay, what am I talking about? Well, if you're putting her on a pedestal, you're going to have to start saying no. Okay? Married men cannot just say no. They've been conditioned. Okay? So it takes a little while. So the first thing is non-compliance. Okay? Then you start saying no. Okay? I had this one situation where, this one woman told me, wow, he actually scolded me. It felt good. Because he wasn't doing his job as a man. He wasn't being firm as a man. Okay? So these are the things, I mean, like I said, I don't want to risk the algorithms pushing me out and, kicking me off the algorithm. But if you're having problems with relationships, I can help you. If you're a man, I can help you. If you're a woman, it's, you probably already know. You're just waiting for a man to, quote, man up. Okay? But yeah, guys, if you're having problems with your woman, I can help you turn it around. So yeah, let's leave it at that and go back to manifestation for a little while. We have 10 minutes left. Costas, you can talk with the ladies over there. They will educate you. They will school you. Okay, because you have no idea. You need to learn. Okay, we'll have the ladies teach him over there. Anyway, so subconscious, right? Manifestation. So manifestation. Wait. Woman or not, when they are inconsistent, there is a problem. No, wrong. So a woman is hardwired for survival, Costas, and she's an emotional being. So on Monday, she loves you. On Wednesday, she hates you. On Friday, she can love you again, and that's normal. Okay, but yeah, lady, tell him it's normal. Tell him what you guys go through. Okay. Anyway, so manifestation, right? Your goals. When you write your goals, okay? The formula is ask, believe, receive. Where do you ask? You ask within. Jesus Christ told you the kingdom is within. Okay, I know we pivoted really quick from relationships to the kingdom, but the kingdom is for everything. Relationships, okay? It's for career. It's for money. It's for quality of life. Okay? Because when you go into the kingdom, you close your distractors and you meditate, you sit still. You receive divine instructions, okay, on how to proceed with things. Because at that point, your mind gets quiet enough so that you can hear these instructions. We're always getting instructions, okay, from the superconscious. We're always getting instructions. You know, like I said earlier, right? You're driving down the street, you get that feeling to turn right, you dismiss it, right, with your conscious mind, and you keep driving. You get stuck in the traffic jam. What do you say? You go, I knew I should have turned over there, because you did know, but you ignored it. Okay. So that's, you know, that's a thing to consider. Consider listening or paying attention to that divine guidance, because that's your divine guidance. If women want to survive with toxic people, then they have a problem. Eventually they do. But toxic is attractive, Costas, okay, to women, especially young women, probably your age. Is she your age? He's 35. Anyway, these young boys. Okay, but anyway, but yeah, so, right, your conscious, subconscious, superconscious, your conscious mind is your operating system. If you're looking like a computer kind of thing, if you look at it that way, the subconscious is where you store the programs. So after you keep thinking a thought, it becomes a belief. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. It goes into your subconscious. Now your subconscious believes it, right? So now your subconscious, your reticular activating system and your brainstem, all of these things start working together to filter out what you're not focused on and to show you more of what you're focused on. And this is important for manifestation because it's done through your subconscious. It's not magic. It's not witchcraft. It's none of that. Okay, that's why I really, you know, I laugh a lot when my religious friends tell me, oh, this is from the devil. I'm like, no, it's not. It's from your subconscious. Okay, and my advice to them is, you know, be a multiple book learner, not a one book learner. Okay, don't just learn from one book. Okay, go out and study. So I even have yeah, for let me read this for you. We have a lot of Christians in my following. Okay, and they usually read my my writings like or my they see my lives and stuff like overnight. So yeah, there's some I made some subconscious. I wrote down some subconscious references in the Bible. Proverbs 23:7 is one. Okay, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. What are they talking about in his heart? They're talking about your subconscious. Okay, whatever you believe in your subconscious. Okay, your subconscious, right, affects your paradigm. Your paradigm affects your actions. Your actions give you results. So everything stems from what you believe. Okay. So Proverbs 4:23, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. It's talking about your subconscious again. Okay, Romans 12:2, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. What mind? Your subconscious mind. How do you renew your subconscious mind? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, and prayer. Okay, because you can pray for divine guidance. You can pray for God's blessings. You can pray for God's guidance, and you will be guided. But the guidance comes from your subconscious and the superconscious, those two states of awareness. Okay, Matthew 12:34-35. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Okay, either way, abundance or lack. Okay, a good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things, right? So if your beliefs are good in the subconscious, then your worldview is good in your paradigm. Then up here, the fruits of the tree, we're talking about the tree, right? So the roots of the tree is your subconscious, your core beliefs. Okay, that forms your paradigm, the way you see the world, your worldview, your attitude towards things. And then that shapes your actions, the fruits of the tree. And the fruits of the tree, you will know them by their fruits, okay, or by their actions. Those actions get results. So you cannot have good actions, good intentions, okay, or let's say a good heart, and get bad results, and vice versa. Okay, that's what it's talking about. Psalm 19:14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord. What are they talking about? The heart, they're talking about the subconscious, not your heart. Okay, it's talking about your subconscious. Okay, Jeremiah 17:9-10. The heart is deceitful above all things. I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins. What does that mean? It means that God examines even the hidden things, okay? Subconscious motives behind actions. So sometimes your motives are on autopilot. You're not even aware of it. Okay, but these motives surface. Where do they surface? They surface from your actions. Okay, so that's the universal law of correspondence. Whatever's in here is going to be reflected out here. Okay? As a man thinketh in his heart, okay, inside, so is he, right? Because you can see these results outside. So if you know what to look for, right, you can see what they're like. In other words, I always tell people, like, do you know somebody with a messy desk at work? Okay, they're messy in here. Disorganized at work? They're disorganized in here. Okay, but when they organize in here, and this is where you make change, in here, you're not getting along with someone, you're having a bad relationship, organize it in here. You can fix it in here. When you change the way you act, okay? So that's the subconscious beliefs, right? The paradigm has to change. So you change the beliefs first, that changes the paradigm. The paradigm changes the fruits, the actions, okay? And that changes the results. Okay, so all you have to do is adjust the way you deal with someone, and it changes the whole relationship. But if you don't do that, okay, I'm talking affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. If you don't work on it in that way and then provide, let's say routine maintenance to your subconscious, then your relationships are going to be bad. And I'm not only talking about man and woman relationships, I'm talking about family relationships. The relationship between you and your children, the relationship between you and your parents, the relationship between you and your cousins, like all of that. Okay, Hebrews 4:12. I only have time for like one or two more. For the word of God is quick and powerful, discerning the thoughts and intents of the heart. Where's the intention? Okay, the intention is in the heart, but where does it really come from? It comes from your subconscious, right? They call it your heart. Okay, when they say intentions, they always use the term heart, but that's figurative. They're talking about your subconscious because your intentions are in your subconscious beliefs. Whatever you believe is going to be how you act. You're acting from your beliefs. You are as you believe. What you believe dictates your life. It dictates what you do. And that's all based upon what you believe. When you change your beliefs, then you change your patterns. You change your patterns, you change your actions. Actions change the results. Oh, thank you. Wolf to Wolf Dog, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Matthew, okay, last one. Matthew 15:18-19. Those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart. Oh, you see, subconscious programming already. Okay, and they defile the man. Okay, for out of the heart proceed evil thoughts. Okay, you see? First you think it. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. First you think it, and if you keep thinking it, it becomes a belief in your subconscious. That affects the way you see things. That affects the actions that you produce, and those actions give you results. Okay? And this is the way it works. So, let's say you want to fix something. Let's say you want to be kind. Let's say your problem is you're not kind enough. Let's say you're mistreating people. Okay? I am so happy and grateful now that I am kind. Thank you. When you start writing it, you will keep thinking about it. Okay? The more you think about it, the more you will believe it. When you believe it in your subconscious will start producing acts of kindness. It's that simple. But you have to take the time to write it down. Why is being toxic attractive? Okay, lady, tell them, because that's a good question for a woman. Okay. Oh, they're good. Yeah. Costas, you should talk to Jay, because Jay is a counselor. She has a degree in counseling. Okay, so she can help you. Exchange emails, you guys. Exchange whatever. Like have him message you, Jay, because I think he'll benefit from talking to you. Okay, so basically, yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Boy, we had a eventful live this morning. So you guys can watch the live if you guys are on either of my Facebook pages. Okay, it's the Here for You Life Coaching Facebook page, or it's my personal page. You guys can review the live. Okay, so a lot of action happened today. Uh, yeah, there, Facebook. Yeah, exchange Facebooks. There you go. Thank you, Jay. Jay saying see you tomorrow. So I gotta go, and I have a client. I have a client in like a minute, so I gotta go. But anyway, yeah. So it's been a very eventful live. Been a very educational live today. So hopefully we do it again tomorrow. And we're here every day. So 7 days a week at 7 a.m. And we may experiment with doing an evening live. So stay tuned for that, okay? Will give you information on that. But anyway, thank you, and aloha.